Imagine waking up as a child 10,000 years ago. No one wakes you, no one dresses you. By the time the sun's up, you're gone, off with a pack of other kids, no adult in sight, and nobody is worried. Now imagine describing that to a modern parent. They'd call it neglect. Back then, it was just childhood. So what changed? Them or us? Because here's the uncomfortable part. Your kid right now might be the least independent human being who has ever lived. Not lazy, not coddled, the least free-range member of a species that spent 300,000 years turning its children loose. And you feel it, don't you? That quiet, nagging pull in the back of your mind that says you should be doing more, watching closer, filling the schedule, signing them up for the thing that finally makes them self-reliant. But that pull is brand new. 2 generations ago, in 1971, 8 out of 10 British 7-year-olds walked to school with no adult at all. 1 generation later, that number had fallen to 9%. 9. And this wasn't some quirk of one rainy island. Look at the United States over the very same stretch. In 1969, roughly half of all American kids got themselves to school on foot or on a bike. By 2009, 13%. The same cliff, the same single generation, an ocean away. In the span of a single childhood, something reached into the world and pulled the walls in, fast, in living memory, and almost nobody noticed it happening. And here's the part that should stop you cold. The strange thing isn't that we started protecting our kids more. It's what we quietly deleted in order to do it. So start with a scene that'll make your stomach drop. Among the Aka, foragers in the Congo Basin, an anthropologist named Barry Hewlett watched an 8-month-old, an infant who couldn't even walk yet, playing with a 6-inch knife next to the fire. No one took it away, nobody flinched. On another day, a father took a broken machete and filed it down into a tiny hatchet, sized for the hands of his 2-year-old daughter, and handed it to her like a toy. Toddlers with blades, digging sticks, fire, and the whole camp stayed calm. Now, you're already explaining it away, aren't you? You're thinking, well, of course, life was brutal back then. They had no choice. Kids grew up fast because it was survive or die. Hold on to that thought. It feels obvious. It feels like common sense. It is also completely precisely wrong, and the exact way it's wrong is the entire story. Now, some of you are thinking something else, and it's fair, so let's put it on the table. You're thinking maybe those kids could roam because the world back then was safer, and mine can't because the world today is genuinely more dangerous. Reasonable. Except the numbers say the opposite. Over the very decades that children vanished from the streets, in Britain, road traffic nearly doubled, and yet the number of children killed on those roads nearly halved. The actual danger to a child dropped. What went up wasn't the risk, it was the fear. And you don't even need a time machine to see it, just a map. Japan is one of the safest, most crowded, most modern countries on Earth, and Japanese children still ride the subway alone and walk themselves to school from the 1st grade. In India's dense, chaotic cities, most kids still get to school on their own 2 feet, no parent driving them anywhere. Same planet, same decade as you. The difference was never how dangerous the world actually is. It's how dangerous a place lets itself feel. We didn't retreat indoors because the world got more dangerous. We retreated because we became more afraid of it, and those are not the same thing. So before we get to the real reason your kid can't have any of what that Aka toddler had, we have to understand one genuinely strange thing about that forager camp. And it has nothing to do with danger, or knives, or survival. It's a simple question. Who was actually out there all day with those roaming children, watching them, teaching them, in charge of them? And the answer is no one. No adult was out there at all. The children were being raised hour after hour, dawn to dusk, by other children. Because foragers didn't sort their kids into grades, into rooms of 30 identical 5-year-olds. A 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, all in one loose, roaming, mixed-age pack, learning the entire world from each other. And this is where it gets clever, because that mix is the whole engine. The little ones didn't learn from adults, they learned from the slightly bigger kids, who were close enough to still remember how, and patient in a way no grown-up has time to be. And the big kids didn't stay still either. Nothing forces you to actually master a skill like having a smaller kid watching you do it, copying you, needing you to get it right. The pack taught the little ones and sharpened the big ones in the same motion, and none of it was pretend. They tracked, they dug, they climbed. They handled fire and blades and came home in one piece every single day. And that is the piece we've been missing, because it means their independence was never survival shoving tiny adults out into a hard world to fend for themselves. Look at that knife one more time. A calm baby, a patient father, a whole camp with nobody panicking. That is not desperation. That is the exact opposite of desperation. So here is what should genuinely rattle you. Those forager kids, the ones with the knives, the ones with no adult in sight, had more free play, more roaming, more unstructured time than your child has ever had in their life. Not less childhood. More. Wildly, unrecognizably more. Sit with how strange that is for a second. The children we picture scraping and clawing just to survive were, by every honest measure, the freest human beings who have ever lived. And your kid, safe behind every wall we ever learned to build, has the very least of it. Something in that equation is turned exactly upside down, and we still haven't said why. Now stand in the middle of your own house and go looking for that pack. Where is it? Where are the mixed-age kids roaming past your window, disappearing into the morning, teaching each other how to be people? Gone. The street is empty. And it's not that your neighbors are careless, it's that everyone made the same quiet retreat at the same time, so no child has a pack to join anymore, because every other child is inside too. The families got smaller, the doors closed. The one kid you do have, you can now watch on a map, on your phone, a little blue dot you check without even deciding to. We didn't just get more careful. We unplugged something enormous, and we've spent every year since trying to rebuild it by hand without ever quite admitting what it was we pulled out. So think about what raising an independent child has actually come to mean for you. A chart on the fridge, a sticker for making the bed, chores traded for allowance, a class, an expert's 5 gentle steps. A scheduled play date, which is, if you look straight at it, a tiny supervised rehearsal of the thing that used to happen on its own, all day, for free. We manufacture independence now, deliberately, effortfully, one measured, supervised milestone at a time. Because we took away the machine that used to produce it without anyone lifting a finger. And that didn't happen to some faraway tribe. It happened to your own family in 4 short steps. Your grandparents had the whole street and half the town. Your parents had the cul-de-sac until the streetlights came on. You got the backyard, the fence, and a phone with your location on it. Your kid gets a screen and a play date booked 3 weeks out. 4 generations. The walls came inward 1 arm's length at a time, and every single generation was certain the one before it had been reckless. The psychologist Peter Gray spent decades on this precise question: how forager children turned out so capable, so steady, so grown, with no school, no lessons, and not one adult managing them. And his answer is the thing we've been quietly circling this entire time. They were never taught to be independent. Independence is not a skill you install in a child, no matter how good the chart. It is simply what's left, what a child quietly becomes on their own. When the adults step back, hand them something real, and let the pack of other kids do the rest. It was never survival that made those children free. It was freedom. And freedom is the single thing we have spent 4 generations, out of nothing but love, gently taking off the table. So go back one last time to that child, 10,000 years ago, gone by sunrise with a pack of other kids and not one adult in sight. You called it neglect. They would have looked at ours and called it something worse. A childhood with the doors locked quietly from the outside, out of love. So nothing is wrong with your kid, and nothing is wrong with you. You are simply the first parents in the entire history of the species who have been asked to build by hand against the current, alone, the one thing that childhood used to hand out for free.